Okay, record to the cloud. Okay, you're getting recorded.
Thank you, Tom. I'll start with the script for remotely conducted open meetings. Members of the public wishing to participate in this meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name or acts inappropriately. Let me introduce myself. I'm Andrew Lowell, the chairman of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board. As a preliminary matter, permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mr. Tom Sadowski.
Here.
Mr. Dave Bossy.
Present.
Mr. Dave Franzuto.
Present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond. Do we have staff with us tonight, Mr. Sadowski? I'm not seeing a full screen here.
I can't see anybody. We have
Okay.
Mary Longacre and Kona Hosier, but we
Okay.
don't have anyone else.
Mary, are you an anticipated speaker tonight?
Andy, I don't think I'm anticipated, but I am here on two issues. One is the fertilizer use. I may have some news that you're not aware of, so I thought I would offer that. And the other is the coastal resilience update. If Peter was expected to do something, I can try and pinch hit for him since he's not here.
Wonderful. Okay, so just for a roll call, we have Mary Longacre with us tonight. Introduction to the remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of Acts 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone and or computer when you are not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes, please. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by it and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, Tuesday, December 21st. Do we have an approval of the agenda tonight? Is there a motion to approve? Everybody's muted.
So moved.
Mr. Sadowski is moved to approve tonight's agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Bossy. All in favor, Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Approval of draft minutes for December 7th, 2021. Has everybody read the minutes and have any adjustments to make? If not, I will harbor a motion for approval.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Bossy has approved his motion to approve the minutes of December 7th. Mr. Sadowski has seconded that. Mr. Franzuto in favor?
Aye.
And chair will vote aye as well. Chairman's report. I have nothing to report at this moment. Marine Department report. Do we have any representation from the Marine Department? Mr. Sidowski, anybody else on board with us?
No, the same 6
No.
people.
Okay, Natural Resources Department. No,
No one's here.
okay, thank you. Is Ginger with us?
No.
Okay. Public comment on Natural Resources or Marine Department, if any, now's the time. Not seeing or hearing any. We'll move directly into old business. We have Ted Lambrecht's Oyster lease revocation. The select board has requested that we attend their meeting January 5th. I was not in attendance at the last meeting, but was this discussed at the last meeting?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah,
Yes.
yes, it was, and they revoked it. They voted to revoke it last meeting. It's finished. I'm not sure why they're asking for us to be there on the 5th, because it was absolutely revoked last meeting.
At the select board meeting.
Correct. They had a public, it was on the agenda and public meeting, and it was mostly due to the fact some of his gear was left in the water, but there were also some violations that required oysters be destroyed. The two violations, each one causing oysters to be destroyed. And that was also, I didn't realize that was in a condition from when they gave him the final extension. And I think the board finally realized that was it. And they voted to revoke his license.
So this was at a meeting after the one where they first voted to revoke, and then Mr. Lambrecht came in late, and then they decided to re-vote on that, or did you see the whole
No,
meeting?
if they re-voted on that, I did not see that. No, I stayed until they voted the first time. It never, and he was not present when I was there. So apparently they reversed that, you're saying.
Well, so I was told. He came in later, and they brought the information. They brought it back into a public hearing somehow, and voted to continue till January 5th. So we'll need to get this straightened out. Find out. What
I have no doubt that happened.
Do you remember the date of the meeting you were watching, Mr. Bossy?
It was just before our last meeting, because I reported the results at our last meeting. So I'm just checking the calendar. So our last meeting was on the 7th. So it would have been Wednesday the 1st, I suppose. I could go pull the agenda up. In fact, the minutes should be out there now too.
All right.
Well, no, they haven't approved the minutes. I guess they probably don't put them out until they approve them.
All right.
Okay, but I did not watch past when they denied it, when they revoked it. Really a little shocked. They reopened a public hearing that it was closed when public such as myself clearly left. So it's interesting.
Board members, any more discussion on this?
No, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, Mr. Franzuto.
I'm probably speak for everybody, but my opinion hasn't changed. It should have been revoked, and I don't know how they can reopen the public hearing after it's been closed and voted. And then, because they're very sensitive to the public input, and if the public left.
Right. That just makes no sense at all that they did that.
No, not at all.
They voted on it. It was done. It was unanimous. And they closed the meeting, the public portion of the meeting. Well, they closed the public portion of the meeting and then voted, but that's like a sunshine violation almost. I mean, it really, it's
Right.
My guess would be they didn't reopen the public meeting, but they moved it to the next time so they could
Right.
repost the public meeting and have it done at the public. I won't watch it, but my guess is they couldn't reopen the public meeting that night. So that they.
Right. You're
moved it
probably
to the
correct.
5th.
Yeah.
Probably correct.
That's what I think happened.
So they
Okay.
just postponed it to January 5th, and that's why they need our renewed input.
So Andy, can you make it the 5th?
Yes, I
Okay.
should be able to, but not sure if I'll be in town or not. Who knows, but I'll
I'll,
do my best.
I'll be here.
Mr. Okay. All right. I believe Mr. Brace said he was interested in attending as well. Any more discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. Banning fertilizer use on Nantucket. So you had Mr. Manella in at the last meeting, and I have not looked over, I didn't watch it on YouTube, so if anybody wants to bring me up to speed or just continue where you left off, what are the feelings? What's the temperature of the board moving forward? There is also some other information that should be taken into consideration. The email that we got from I believe Erica Mooney's desk about regulations that sounds like have been in the bottom of a filing cabinet somewhere that actually allow the town of Nantucket already. We have the power to possibly ban fertilizer, if not at least restrict it much more than we do at present. So Ms. Longacre may have some more to add to that, but I'll start with board members. Mr. Sadlowski.
Yeah, we had this presentation from Joe last time, and I asked it to be kept on the agenda because I thought we should discuss as a committee whether we wanted to take a position. At that time, we did all believe it was sort of a for show kind of thing. But then we realized through not only the thing you circulated, but that's been out in the public domain, that we do have some authority to do some things on the island. I don't know if we want to, with a group of 4, make a decision on whether we should take a position, but we are a quorum. But the idea would be that we could, this committee could take a position in support of that article, and then obviously write something to, whatever group looks at that. I guess it's the finance committee or whatever who would make the recommendation. And then if it goes to a vote on the town meeting, someone could reiterate whatever our position is. So that's where we left it. Mary, what do you know? You've come to, I don't know, sorry, Andy.
No, please, that's quite all right, Tom.
I've gone past. No, I'm sorry.
I'm glad you're feeling comfortable, Tom. That's great. But well, first of all, when do proposed articles like this? When does the discussion process with other boards and commissions begin? I don't believe that we as a board tonight need to make any decision on this. I agree with all of you that it stays on our agenda as long as it needs to, and having a full board by the time we come to a vote is certainly a stronger message. So depending upon which way we vote, of course. So Mary, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Lowell. So I watched the Finance Committee's meeting where they discussed the fertilizer article. And I'm speaking as a new member of the NP&EDC as of this summer. They mentioned, or town council mentioned, that there are 2 avenues for the potential for fertilizer regulation. One being, what the town can pursue, but the other is the NP&EDC has an avenue for creating fertilizer regulations. And so I thought that was very interesting. I would be interested to know more about that. And as a member of the NP and EDC, would be interested in finding out more about what our options are. And if that's a better avenue to pursue, or if that should wait until the town meeting article is dealt with. So I'm trying to learn more about this issue and find out what I can about where the NP and EDC would fit in. But I wanted to get your input on the fertilizer regulations, but also to let you know that there may be another channel to pursue.
Well, thank you, Mary. Certainly, this has been on our radar for a long time. I think it's safe to speak for the board that we're very concerned about the health of the harbor. We have a new title on our agenda every meeting called Health of the Harbors, and excessive lawn fertilizer use is on there at every meeting because we're searching for new avenues all the time to be able to restore the health of the harbor. And personally, I believe, and I'll let the rest of the board speak for themselves on this, but NP and EDC stands for Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission. They do not have like regulatory powers, same as us, but I believe their guidance goes a long way with planning board, and is actually, their guidance is sought after. And maybe I served on NP and EDC as the Concom's representative back in 97, 98. And I found it to be a very interesting board that I think a lot can come from it, but maybe we're not seeing everything that could be coming from that board. I would like to start conversation in encouraging our board, encouraging the NP and EDC to move forward with this type of recommendation for the sake of the harbor, whether it's a 2-year plan or a 5-year plan, to give it to try to start out in an approach that, hey, we don't know this for sure until we give it a try, because there's a lot of opposition to this out there. Of course, people think lawn mowing jobs are going to be lost because fertilizer isn't being used, and I think as long as you water your lawn, it's going to need mowing every week, whether it's fertilized or not. Maybe it's going to start growing some weeds or some crabgrass, but we need a program that educates people that dandelions and crabgrass really aren't that bad of a thing. They'll stay green, and when it's mowed, you can barely tell it's there. But so we certainly need some more public education, and I would have to think that so many people have got to be aware of the state of our harbor. It only continues to get worse. The eelgrass is decreasing every year. I think we have a struggling shellfish survival rate, and we need to take action, and we need to take action now. So board members, comments, what do you think?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say that I think keeping this, I think the purpose, the end result of having this article is going to be to keep it alive and get discussion going again. And it seems from some of the emails I've been seeing go by that there are a number of ways to attack this. It's already been done apparently once, and it obviously needs some revision and some rework. But I think it seemed to me it falls to the select board, and I guess it just is going to take enough people behind it to get it to town meeting, to get the people at town meeting to say, yes, we want something like this implemented. Because of all the different factions out there. But anyway, I support this only because I think it's going to keep, I don't think this is going to be the final solution, this article, but it's going to keep it awake and keep everybody alive and keep everybody talking about it. And hopefully move forward and light a fire under the people that need to have a fire lit under them to do something. So any avenues we can explore, I'd certainly like to hear about them.
Well, okay, and that brings me to Miss Longacre again. This information that has been found that we already have more rights than we thought to regulate and/or all-out ban. Is this information available for us to reach out and get hold of? How do the board members here see what you're seeing?
My suggestion would be to contact town council. That's what I had planned to do. I would watch the FinCom meeting. I think it's the 9th, but it's the most recent meeting. It's on YouTube. And I'll go back and watch your last meeting and pick up on that fertilizer discussion as well. But it was news to me. I just watched the recording yesterday, and I thought it was definitely something that needed more sunshine on it. Both the fact that there are some existing regulations and the fact that there may be some power with NP and EDC, and I don't have any further details, but I'm definitely interested in finding out and figuring out what the right approach. But that was also mentioned at FinCom, was that enforcement of existing regulations could accomplish a good bit of what we're trying to do. So I don't know, and that's why I'm here to get more information since I saw it on your agenda.
Okay, Mr. Franzuto.
Do we know, is it a regulation or a bylaw? Do we know what the regulation number is or anything?
Right.
Town council would, the other person who was there is Mike Mizzarelli from, pardon me for jumping in, Andy.
No, please.
And he is part of it's fertilizer advisory board or committee or something like that. There's a group. Again, something I wasn't aware of. He might have more information as well.
All right, if we could, let me see if we can ferret that out, and so we can at least read it, see what it says and who's responsible for whatever enforcement's available now.
Mm.
Guys,
At least if we got to know what's in place, we could make a more informed decision. Yeah. Tom.
Exactly, and it sounds, I mean, I asked Mr. Brace to forward out the letter that came from Erica, and there were some comments from Mr. Fee on it. Did you all get that letter,
yeah.
Mr. Sidorowski? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd seen this before, but we got it on Saturday. Our committee got it on Saturday from Peter, and I suspect that we haven't looked at it closely enough, because it's an opinion from the Attorney General, and it goes through great detail about what provisions we're talking about and what's there. But it ends up with our number 5, which says, at this time, absent a successful home rule petition, the only option the town would have to enact more stringent fertilizer regulations or bylaws than what are currently in place in the Board of Health's existing regulations would be to follow the procedures set forth above regarding the enactment of a comprehensive plan by the NP and EDC. So they're basically saying that the NP and EDC can create a comprehensive plan, which would include new fertilizer regulations. But I think you should look at this, because this is pretty detailed, legalistic chapters and verse are there. So if you haven't studied it, take a look at it again before the next meeting, because I think it puts a lot more background than you think.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Dave?
Tom, could you forward that to me? I don't have that.
You didn't get that? Okay. You're on it, but I'll forward it back out.
Yeah, would you?
I'll send it back out. We got it Saturday. It was to the whole crowd from Peter.
Well, I was.
So I'll just send it back. I'll forward it back. I'll reply to all, and I'll try to include everything, and you should get it.
Thank you.
It definitely sheds more light and kind of, gives a glimmer of hope that maybe something's already in place. And so this needs to, definitely stay on the agenda, and we'll be continuing discussion on this in future meetings for sure. Anybody else on this subject? Anything more to add, Ms. Longacre?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your participation. If there's nothing else in this matter, not seeing anyone, excessive sand and scallops dredging plan. I'm keeping this on here as well in hopes that one day we'll hear from Mr. Carlson with some new information on a dredging plan that he's working on, as far as I know. Any comments from the board? Not seeing or hearing any. Health of the. Oh,
I'll just
yeah.
say that, as we left it with Tara, they were still looking into pilot projects and the overall comprehensive dredge plan. So, if she was here, I would ask her, but would leave it on the agenda, and when they show up, we'll keep asking.
Well, I mean, aside from that dredging plan is, our idea of the pilot project to clear out an old eelgrass bed of all the. We've had some guest speakers recently, and I'm hoping to bring in some more guest speakers, and really we as a board should be, if we all agree on it, to come up with a recommendation and pass it on, so that maybe something of this sort can take
I'm gonna
place.
follow up with the Martha Vineyard people again and see if I can get them to come on a Tuesday afternoon and talk to us about their trials and successes. Or
Yes.
not.
Right. That would be
Andy,
wonderful. Thank
Mary
you.
would like to speak.
Mary,
Andy,
please.
Mary would like to speak.
I would encourage you to involve Vince Murphy, the Coastal Resilience Coordinator, in all discussions about a dredge plan. I know that what's coming out of the Coastal Resilience Plan is a sediment transport study and a sediment budget, and those are supposed to inform a dredge plan. So there may be a sequence that's involved. And I'm sure that Vince would be interested in any pilot project suggestions about dredging sand or moving it to other locations. He may be able to give you more information about what's possible and what funding is. If you want me to jump ahead to the Coastal Resilience Plan, I'm happy to do that, or I can hold that, but that is part of what I was going to talk about.
Okay, well, actually, we'll stay on this agenda item for another minute, and I'm actually glad you're here, because I've talked about it so much. Sometimes I just feel like I'm a little burned out on it. But if you're, I'll bring you up to speed quickly. The idea is there's been a lot of erosion in the harbor, and literally millions, if not billions, of yards of sand have washed off of our harbor coastlines into the harbor. Fishermen, scallopers, just plain granular sand on the bottom where there used to be eelgrass beds. And we've been well informed that eelgrass is not going to grow in this granular sand. It's especially if it's anywhere from 16 inches to 20 inches thick or deep. And there's also, we also have now a shallower harbor because of this. But to enter into this in a conservative way, our thoughts are is to propose taking a small square of an area of bottom that's covered with granular sand, and have a small hydraulic dredge, a man with a diver, a diver operating this dredge, but simply sucks up the bottom, but a guy with hands on and eyes on what he's doing. And of course, I felt that it's really almost a fourfold possibly positive thing. It could help with water flow for the health of the harbor. It could, we don't know yet until we prove that it can help with eelgrass. Oils can be put in the
Am I the only one who lost Andy?
I'm having difficulty
That-
keeping Andy's connection. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
Andy,
he's-
we're losing you a
Yes.
lot.
they're necessary for coastal that may be cause to be moved to. So I think the conjunction between coastal resiliency
Andy, you might turn off your video and see if it helps your sound.
natural
losing a lot of your
resources
sound.
and glad damn, sorry. Better?
Yeah.
Yes, so far.
Yeah, okay.
Seems like it.
Do I need to repeat? Do I
I
need to
think I
repeat?
got the gist of it, Andy. I appreciate that.
All
But
right,
again, I would say that Vince Murphy is the guy you need to talk to.
all right,
And I'll give you a few more details when we get to the coastal resilience part of your agenda.
all right. I'd really like to, we'll try to invite Vince to our next meeting for this subject.
Great.
Okay. Health of the harbor, excessive lawn fertilizer use. We're kind of covering that with our discussion on the discussion we've already had. If anybody has anything to add in this subject, do so now or we'll move forward. Not seeing anything or anybody raising their hand. FDA shellfish taking prohibition in mooring fields. Peter and I decided to keep this on here in case there was any new news from natural resources. Not seeing any natural resources representation tonight. If there's no discussion from board members, we'll move forward to new business. Coastal Resiliency Advisory Board update. Ms. Longacre, please.
Yes, so the coastal resilience plan was presented by Arcadis to the select board at their December 1st meeting. And I thought the presentation was excellent that Trevor did. And we had comments from several of the committee members, which were also very good. So if you have not seen that presentation, I would encourage you to watch it. The select board did not choose to adopt the plan and instead scheduled, I think it's January 12th meeting for adoption of the plan. So we will be back on the 12th, hoping to get the yes vote for that plan to be adopted. And then our next steps for the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee are two pathways. The first is that part of the contract with Arcadis was some money to have them help us develop grant applications. And so we had some discussion on what of the projects, the 40 in the Coastal Resilience Plan, what would we want to move forward soonest? And that includes, as I mentioned, the sediment transport study and the sediment budget. So finding out where the sand is moving around the island and how much sand we might need to accomplish some of the coastal resilience projects that are in the plan. The dredge plan will feed into that because after you figure out how much sand you're going to need, the next question is, well, where's it going to come from? And the dredge plan would definitely be a part of that. So those are high priority areas, and Vince is trying to move those forward. And we hope that Arcadis will help us write grants that may address that. We had some general discussion about other areas that were high priority. Certainly the downtown area is a high priority for moving forward with coastal resilience planning because it does affect so much of the island and it is one of the critical areas. The other avenue is what does the committee do now that we have a plan? And that's going to merit further discussion. We do still have a role within our original mandate, which is to help implement the plan. So we definitely are not disbanding once the plan is adopted. But my personal philosophy is that many of these projects that will be recommended for coastal resilience will have an opportunity for other benefits to the public, whether it's public access to the waterfront or boat launches or the shellfishing health of the industry. Those are all things that we should be considering in tandem with these projects so that at the very least, we're not having unintended consequences that are negative for various other parts of life on Nantucket. But really, we'd like to have a positive effect so that when these projects come up for public approval and funding, it's not just we have to do this because sea level is rising, but we have to do this and we'll have opportunities to enhance life on Nantucket at the same time. So those are the ways that I hope that the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee will move forward with the Coastal Resilience Plan.
All right, Mary, give us some important dates that we should be familiar with.
So our
If
next,
you would, I know you already did, but I do like you to sum it up again, just as a reminder, so we can write them down. You mentioned that something was coming up pretty soon that was, should be on our radar.
so the select board meeting on Wednesday, the 12th is when the Coastal Resilience Plan is scheduled for adoption by the select board. The next Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee meeting is the 11th. That agenda is not set yet. But we would definitely be happy to either invite you or to have a joint meeting, with any topic that you think we should be talking about together. So I'm looking ahead towards, what are the topics going to be in the next few months. And, if I think that the fertilizer regulation is more of my NP and EDC hat rather than a coastal resilience hat. But I just read an article about some lovely thing called sea snot, which you can imagine is not a pleasant experience. And the article mentioned the algal blooms in Massachusetts. And this article was about Mediterranean phenomenon. But it's bacteria and viruses and trash and pollutants that are all coming together and forming this really ugly gelatinous mass, and it's washing up on beaches and preventing people from going in the water. And my thought was, I hope it can't happen here, but we need to make sure that we're not adding the bacteria and the nitrogen and the other pollutants and items to our harbor so that it doesn't happen here.
Okay. Everybody hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah, better.
Okay.
Better. Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Who is it?
It's Tom. Just
Mr.
2 points.
Sidlowski.
Just 2 points. I think Ginger's finally getting in. I've been talking to her on the text, and we have been joined by a woman named Hillary. And
Yes.
just so you know, you might know who
Okay.
that is. And
All right.
Ginger, you're in.
Yes. Hello?
Hi, Ginger.
Hello there. Well, I had the wrong meeting ID and the wrong password.
Hi, Ginger.
Hello, can you hear
Oops,
me?
Yes. Peter wanted to you might have jumped into the January agenda. Peter's off island during that time, so we did January's agenda this morning.
Oh, okay,
sorry for
so,
that.
yeah. Well,
Sorry
I
for that
couldn't,
confusion.
there was no, I took it off the web, but I thought it was today's agenda, but it obviously didn't track. Oh, well,
Okay.
anyway. Have
All right.
you finished with the meeting? Is there anything left to discuss? Where are we?
Almost. We're down to we're at coastal resilience update, and then we'll be into public questions and comment. Earlier, I attempted to forward an email Did everybody get it on a proposed article by Hillary? It has to do with NP and EDC and the makeup and how the board is elected or appointed. And she feels that letter has to do with how the board, how it's made up, and their connection to us as far as planning goes. And we talked about this earlier with Mary being on NP and EDC, that there may be an avenue through the NP and EDC that can work in the harbor's favor. It's a matter of flexing that muscle and actually using it. So, under public comment, I'll allow Hillary to speak if she'd like, and if it's okay with the board. The public does not have this letter in their hands, but I'll allow it to be spoken about, and we can have it on our agenda at the next meeting. So, but did everybody receive that forwarded email? Yes. Thank you.
I don't think, I must have
right.
had it somewhere, but I don't believe I read it for whatever
Okay.
reason.
All right. Well, that's okay. We have time, I believe, but Hillary, would you like to comment?
Sure. Thanks, Andy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking my public comment. I have a Citizens Warrant article that is involving reforming the Planning and Economic Development Commission. And the reason why I was motivated to do this was because I started looking into the health of the harbor, just observing the decline in water quality over time. 10 years ago, the harbor looked very different, and thinking about fertilizer and eutrophication of the harbor, is there anything that we could do? And I discovered that other towns on the Cape and Martha's Vineyard actually have bylaws banning fertilizer, which led me to look into, how they were able to do that when I've been told that on Nantucket we couldn't. And I discovered that it was actually a special power given to the regional planning commissions, specifically of Barnstable County, Cape Cod, Dukes County, the Martha's Vineyard Commission, and Nantucket with the Nantucket Planning Economic Development Commission, so that there was somehow some way that we could do this if we wanted to. And it just led for me as a citizen to just start to look more at the long range planning process on Nantucket, what's happened with long range planning, what hasn't happened, and think about if there were ways to actually get a bylaw in place legally, how we could do that. And I decided that there were perhaps attractive elements of having the 3 at-large members of the Planning Commission be elected by the public. Mary is a fantastic addition to the Planning Commission, and I just want to say that the Planning Commission in general is filled with really wonderful people. This isn't really about the people, it's more about the governance, and really giving more accountability to the public through voting. Right now, the Planning Commission appoints its own 3 at-large members. It's unique among commissions to appoint their own members. So anyway, I decided to write a Citizens Warrant article, but I also wanted to engage with you generally about this issue of fertilizer. I mean, my thinking on this and my knowledge has evolved a little bit. I'm not sure if we really need a bylaw. Maybe we just need more enforcement. It's an area that I'm continuing to work on, but it's an area, something I really care a lot about, as I know all of you do. So I just wanted to know if you wanted to hear more about my article. I could come, with the article and talk to you more specifically about it. But also fertilizer, I think I might have missed the discussion about fertilizer, but I was interested in knowing your thoughts on that as well.
Well, as far as the article that's being proposed for fertilizer or
Really?
fertilizer in general.
No,
I mean,
I guess what I want to understand is we have these regulations, and is the feeling that if the regulations were enforced, like we'd be in good shape, or is the feeling that actually we need more than these existing regulations? We need a new approach, and that, having the Board of Health enforce the existing regulations really wouldn't help us at this point.
Mr. Franzuto.
Hillary, do you have the regulation number?
Do I have the regulation number?
Yeah, so we can-
I
so we
have
can
seen
look
the
at-
regulation.
Well, how can we get a copy of the regulation? Is it a town
The
regulation?
first, yes. So if you go to well, I can email it to Andy. It is a town regulation. It's under the Board of Health. I think, I don't have my computer in front of me, but I think if you go to the Board of Health page on the town website, you will see a link to the fertilizer regulation.
Okay, so it's under the Board of Health.
It is part of the Board of Health, and Mary might know. Mary, did you want to add anything, if I may, through you, Andy?
This is part of the discussion that we've already had, because
Oh,
I worked for the town for 30 years, and I just like to read the regulation, but
yeah.
I can't seem to get my hands on it. So if it's under the Board of Health, I can probably find it.
Yeah, I know it's on the website, and I believe, Dave, you and I haven't met, but I think you were involved with the municipal harbor plan.
Two of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, the municipal harbor plan is also very specific about, in fact, I think I maybe sent that with my email to Andy. I can't remember, but it's really specific about, directing the town to do this.
Yep.
So if we wanted to have more regulations through the NPDC, what we need to do is have it in a master plan kind of developed with one of the extension schools. UMass, we've been directed to UMass Amherst for this purpose.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, well, your master harbor plan from 2009, which by the way is expired, as are all the long range plans.
Well, we're in the process of letting the contract to renew it.
Yes, I heard that, which is terrific. So that might be enough. But this question of, if we even had more regulations, it's like if we had a bylaw, is that attractive, or is it really just a matter of enforcement, whether it's bylaw or it's a regulation? It still comes down to enforcement, and that's what we have to figure out.
Gonna chime in here a bit on that. Do y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
I really feel that, and it's been said, not just by me, that the enforcement is very difficult. And I just don't see how any type of enforcement can keep up with everyone on the island, how much they're spreading. And certainly they've found some violations. They have, imposed some fines, but not a whole lot. And I really feel, and this is my personal opinion, that we need to get drastic with this. And if we have the power already in our hands, buried somewhere in a filing cabinet, that we can ban fertilizer, I think we need to do it. And so, I mean, at this point, that's my opinion. Somebody wants to come on board and, share some scientific evidence that it's not a problem to the harbor, I'm all ears. Board members, comments,
Mr. Chairman.
questions? Ginger, please.
Yeah, I think that we would be better off if we could effectively enforce the regulations that we have. I don't think that is going to be really enough. It would be better to have more stringent regulations. It would certainly be nice if we could ban fertilizer. But the landscaping industry is kind of the Wild West at this point. They're remaking the landscape in places to suit sort of bypass some of the HDC regulations about grading. I think that regulations are only as good as the enforcement, but it needs to go beyond just a fertilizer ban. There needs to be some kind of stronger oversight. Because I'm frankly kind of despairing at this point. We've been struggling with it for a long time, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, that would be great. Go away," So
Yeah.
But thank you, Hillary, for a shot in the arm. It's refreshing to hear that there's another way that we could start to tackle this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ginger. I mean,
Thank
look,
you.
I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I just don't see how we can continue to accept the treatment of the harbor. And I think, I think if it's a revolt, we need a revolt. I mean, this is affecting everybody. And it's not just fertilizer, it's stormwater. And that's why I'm so interested in long range planning, because this is all linked to the way we develop. It's not that we can't develop, but we can't develop in a way that kills our harbor the way it is. So there has to be a better way. And I think there are a lot of really thoughtful people on the island, including this group, that can make something happen if we have more of a line in with the policy and linked up with planning.
Thank you,
That's-
Hillary.
Thank you, Andy.
I'm gonna ask if the board, I forwarded the email. So your contact information must be there. And if it is not, I'd just like to remind the board members, if you'd like to reach out personally to Hillary, I'm sure she would welcome that. And if you don't have her contact information, please let me know and I'll pass it on to you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I'd really thank you.
Board members, any
One more thing.
discussion? You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Sidlowski, please.
I made an effort to send the regulations out to the members of the board, to Hillary and Mary. So you may get them, you may not, but they're not hard to find. And,
Okay.
and so they should be in your emails.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Hillary.
I'd really love to hear from each of you. I'd love to talk to you about the history here. So thank you for listening, and I hope we can have some follow-up conversations.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Board members, any more comments, questions on this comment? If there's anything else about tonight's meeting, anybody would like to discuss, please do so now. Not seeing or hearing any items for our next meeting. Actually, we've already done the agenda, so we really can't add anything more to our next meeting. But we can always, add it in near the end. Thank you for filling in as chairman at the last meeting. I'd like to thank him for filling in as secretary. We've been able to lean on you, and you've stood up straight and tall, able to be leaned on. And I can't thank you enough, Mr. Sidlowski. I'd also like to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We won't see each other, at least in this form on Zoom meeting until next year. So I'm really proud to work with you all. I'm very proud of our board. So thanks for being here. And if there's nothing else, I'll allow some comment from any board members and also a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved,
moved.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Franzuto's motion to adjourn, Mr. Bossy seconded it. All in favor, Mr. Sidorowski,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Good night, everybody.
Merry
This
Christmas.
meeting's
Merry
adjourned.
Christmas.
Good
Thank
night.
you very
Good
much. Merry Christmas.
Good
Good
night.
Bye-bye.
night.